Hello, I'm Annette Young and welcome to the 51%, a show about women reshaping our world. Coming up, uproar in America as senators in the state of Alabama vote to outlaw almost all abortions, setting up a direct challenge to the American woman's constitutional right to end a pregnancy. And as Florida aims to crack down on human trafficking, our correspondents meet those on the front line who are working to fight modern-day slavery in the Sunshine State. Also, more than 18 months on since the Me Too movement first emerged, has the Cannes Film Festival truly addressed the image problem it has over its treatment of women? But we begin in the American state of Alabama, which has voted for the strictest abortion ban in the country with no exceptions for rape or incest. 16 other states are also seeking to impose new restrictions on terminating pregnancies. Their aim is for the landmark 1973 Roe v. Wade pro-abortion ruling to be undermined or overturned completely. Nicholas Rushworth has more.
But why you all want to control our bodies, I will never, ever know.
There was emotion in the Alabama chamber and uproar.
He made a motion to table.
As 25 Republicans, all white men, voted to pass the strictest abortion ban in the United States. Uproar too on the streets. The American Civil Liberties Union says it will block the legislation all the way.
We're going to go to court, and we're going to, I fully expect that we will be able to block this law before it takes effect. What's really important for people to know is that today, abortion is legal in Alabama and in every state across the country.
Alabama is not acting in isolation. Several other states have created new laws this year to limit abortion or even try to ban it altogether. Most of the new restrictions are in the South and in the Midwest. New York has lifted previous restrictions, and Vermont too has approved a move to protect abortion rights. Republican-led legislatures in individual states are emboldened by the Trump presidency amid efforts to prompt the Supreme Court, now more conservative with his two appointees, to reconsider Roe v. Wade abortion protections dating to the 1970s.
A lot of states are enacting abortion bans for the reason of getting this issue back to the Supreme Court, although for decades now, most of the states in the South, like many other states in the country, most of which are red states, have been passing laws restricting abortion, making it more harder for women to get abortions.
After Alabama, Missouri's Republican-led Senate passed legislation to ban abortions at 8 weeks of pregnancy. The pro-life versus pro-choice issue that has been so divisive in the United States for decades is once again center stage.
What do we do? Stand up, fight back. What do we do? Stand up, fight back. Staying in the States, and some 400,000 Americans are reported to be victims of human trafficking on a daily basis. Prostitution, forced labour or kidnapping. It can take many different forms. Florida is one of the most affected states. Our correspondents went to meet those in the Florida city of Orlando who are working to fight modern-day slavery.
He was the first person she told her story to. Tina waited nearly 20 years before revealing to her husband the unimaginable. When Tina was just 4 years old, her mother prostituted her and sold her to men on American soil.
As a child, being sold to men over and over again, every day I wanted to die, every single day. And I really didn't think I would live past my teenage years.
At 15, Tina escaped without saying anything, without filing a complaint, keeping this terrible trauma to herself.
What happens when you have PTSD? There's going to be a trigger that triggers something. And so when my daughters got to be about the age that I first encountered the trauma, I had a breakdown. I was anorexic. I had gotten down to about 70 pounds, and I was trying to kill myself. I was hospitalized for 2 months, and that's when they started the therapy for me, and when they started bringing up the memories.
Since this happened to Tina, human trafficking has grown steadily and silently in the United States. Florida is now one of the most affected states. Here, buses and signs alert families. 67% of the victims are young Americans, and 1 person per day falls victim to human trafficking. According to one lawyer, that number does not include the people who are too scared to talk.
Here in Florida, we see a lot of Americans being victimized. We've defined human trafficking in Florida to be modern-day slavery, and anybody can be a victim. So rich, poor, any race, any nationality, anybody could potentially be a victim. The difference between people that are victimized and not is vulnerability. Our traffickers look for vulnerability.
The preferred method of traffickers? Kidnapping runaways aged 12 to 14. MAURICE Edwards is in charge of finding them. This detective is a member of the Youth Brigade. Their main investigative tool, the internet.
It could be
every day, the unit analyzes online prostitution ads to identify possible cases of exploited minors.
Do you think these pictures are is taken by somebody, or she set the camera there? We look for certain things that we look for when we're scrolling through these ads. If they look young, if someone else is taking the pictures, and certain verbiage that they use within the profile. So we look for certain clues that may indicate their involvement in trafficking.
This team spots nearly 10 suspicious ads a day. The next step happens on the field, surveillance work. The investigator targeted a hotel that was popular amongst traffickers.
Due to the low cost for the rooms, they prefer this hotel because less money that they spend on a room, the more money they keep in their pocket.
On site, MAURICE Edwards looks for suspicious behavior. And after a couple of minutes, one white car gets his attention. Two men came out of it with a very young girl.
They were looking very suspicious. He looked at her, said choice of words. She was staring at us the entire time while we were filming. And then he eventually got into his car, and then, which is still there. And then she walked away while continually staring at us the whole time. She was dressed as, in a manner, for signs that we look for.
The girl will be identified a few days later on a prostitution ad. She is a minor who has been reported missing. This is the beginning of a new investigation. The unit saves an average of 2 minors per month.
Good morning.
Tina has since found a new purpose in life.
How's it going, Devon? Good.
In her community coffee shop, she welcomes victims on a voluntary basis, and she shares her story with the customers.
Only 5% make it out and are able to be successful. I want to change that. And I didn't tell my story for many, many years.
I think that's the worst nightmare. It will be something happened to my kids. So anything that support a good cause like this, supporting to prevent or fight the human trafficking, I'm up to it.
All of the profits from the coffee shop are donated to our Anti-Trafficking Association. Tina and her husband have already helped 15 women in the past year.
And tributes are flowing in for a prominent Afghan journalist and political advisor who was recently killed in Kabul. This just days after she warned on social media that she feared for her life. Mena Mangar was shot dead in broad daylight in a public place. The former broadcaster was a passionate advocate of women's rights and had recently become a cultural advisor to the nation's parliament. Now, as the 72nd Cannes Film Festival gets underway, organisers have been under pressure to withhold an honorary award intended for veteran French actor Alain Delon. This as the 83-year-old faces allegations of being violent towards women. But in the wake of the Me Too movement, has the iconic festival really addressed the image problem it has over its treatment of women?
A record 4 female directors are competing for this year's Palme d'Or in Cannes. Mati Diop, Jessica Hausner, Céline Sciamma and Justine Triet have all been selected for the top award, alongside 17 men. Between 1946, when Cannes held its first festival, and 2018, out of the 1,727 films selected for the Palme d'Or, only 82 were made by women. a figure that inspired 82 women from across the industry to protest on the red carpet last year, to denounce the underrepresentation of women at the festival and what they described as rampant sexism in the film industry. A charter aimed at improving gender parity and making the selection process more transparent was unveiled shortly after. Critics say little progress has been made since then, but organisers say the festival is being held to an impossible standard.
When we signed this charter, the idea was never that the selection would be based on gender parity. All the films in the official selection are there because, in our view, they deserve to be selected.
Despite small improvements, the iconic festival continues to battle accusations of sexism. A petition was launched to protest against the decision to honour veteran French actor Alain Delon with an honorary Palme d'Or, campaigners pointing to the 83-year-old's history of misogynistic and homophobic comments. Organisers, however, have defended the move.
Today, it's very difficult to reward or honor somebody because you immediately run into trouble from the PC police. Obviously, the Cannes Film Festival condemns certain comments, but it does not condemn freedom of speech.
It's still a long road to equality, but now thanks to a new generation of women, the issue can no longer be swept under the carpet.
And that's it for now. You can also connect with us via our Facebook page, that being France24.51%, or do send us a tweet at _51%. So until our next show, bye for now.